Today we're talking about the plan to rewrite or delete 60 regulations to include paying you a little bit less money and closing down a jobs program that has benefited millions of people. Why is this happening now? The Department of Labor's plan is to rewrite or remove regulations they call obsolete. Some of these rules are old, they're outdated, they don't make any sense. It's time to get rid of them. And we can understand that from a certain perspective. There's this idea that in the country we're adding rules, we're adding regulations, we're adding laws, one on top of the other. It's red tape for everyone, and we strangle innovation. It hurts the economy. But when you're getting rid of these regulations, you need to do it by analyzing the situation. You need to know what you're doing because it can impact people in a seriously negative way. Let's take a look. First up, no minimum wage for home health care workers. These workers help millions of elderly or individuals that are unable to take care of themselves. They provide care. Maybe it's your grandparents. Maybe it's your mother or father, but they provide care. Legally, right now, they have to receive at least $7.25 an hour. That's the federal minimum wage. They are also supposed to get overtime pay for any hours worked over 40 hours. But the Trump proposal would let agencies pay below minimum wage and skip overtime if state laws don't require it. That would take us back to the 1975 framework. What occurs when you pay people less money? Below $7 an hour, what would occur? Are you getting the best people to take care of your grandparents? No, you're not. You're getting somebody that might slap around grandma. That might actually happen, to include a whole host of other issues. So first is abuse of patience, neglect, inconsistent care, and emotional harm. You wouldn't want your parents or grandparents slapped around. I don't want to be slapped around when I get older. And you know how it goes. If you start to get dementia, if you start to have a mental illness and you can't remember things, you irritate people. It's just natural to be annoyed. And some people, when they get annoyed, they take the hands-on approach. You might get a couple of those. You don't want that. And this isn't hypothetical. We're not doing a thought experiment. There are thousands of cases that are reported of physical abuse towards the elderly. Now, the Labor Department argues that this could lower cost and expand the home care market, helping people stay in their homes longer. For example, last year, home care cost averaged about $30 an hour. So they're saying a lot of families were priced out because they couldn't afford $30 an hour. And when we talk about things like this, the first reaction is, how could they pay lower than minimum wage? They can't do it. It's a law. They have to follow a law. What are you talking about? You're exaggerating. But they can. They can easily pay less than minimum wage. And it's because of the companionship exemption, which says any employee employed to provide companionship services for individuals who are unable to care for themselves is exempt from the federal minimum wage and overtime pay. So who's affected by this? Who works in this industry? It's mainly women. Over 80% are women. And oh, by the way, it's women of color. It's minorities. Over 80%. And these individuals, they typically have a high injury rate because they're picking up individuals and they're trying to move them and they end up getting hurt. And there was a case in 2013, so about 12 years ago, where you had a lot of these workers working over 60 hours a week. And you know how much they got paid for the year? They earned as little as $10,000 for the year after putting in all those hours. Next, we have the migrant farmer workers. Last year, the Labor Department, they imposed certain regulations. Now, this stuff was common sense. This is not radical stuff. This is not extreme stuff. We're talking about having seatbelts in employer vehicles. So we're setting the bar really low. And also having safeguards for reporting abuse. If you're getting smacked around on the strawberry fields, you can report it, right? So this new proposal, it gets rid of all of that. Recently, agriculture had a fatality rate of 23 per 100,000 workers, which might not seem like much, but it's 5 times the national average. So it's a big deal. They also want to remove lighting. There's a lighting rule, right? They want construction sites to be properly lit up, to have lights. How much does it cost to have proper lighting in a construction site? Apparently it's a lot because they want to reduce the lighting. Then there's mine safety. So right now, district managers, they can request ventilation improvements. They can request, the roofs that collapse. They can request stronger roofs. But this takes the authority away from them because you don't have an opportunity to have public comment. So you're adding more bureaucracy in a process that could end up saving lives. The mining industry is dangerous already. It's probably more dangerous than the agriculture than the farm workers. But they're removing the ability to actually fix problems at a low level. They want to bring it all the way up to a high level. Why do that? The reason to do that is to save cost. They're trying to reduce expenses at the expense of the actual worker. Now let's shift to the Trump administration's decision to get rid of Job Corps. So if you don't know, Job Corps started in 1964. It was tuition free. They housed people, mainly men. They housed individuals. They provided health care. They provided food. These were troubled youths largely. I know because I almost went to a Job Corps in and around the New Orleans area. At one point in time, I remember seeing brochures about it. It was almost about to happen. But Job Corps is a program for low-income youths. And the idea is you can give them the skill set so they can leave their environment, they can escape their environment, and they have a trade. So they can go out there, provide value to society, and get paid and start to become independent and have their own life, maybe have a family and some kids. Ultimately, that's the goal. There's over 100 Job Corps centers across the country, and the Trump administration essentially wanted to shut all these down. The date was June 30th, and it would have happened if it was not for the legal backlash. This is from independent contractors, lawmakers in both parties, and student groups. The reason President Trump wanted to shut it down was because it costs too much money and the success rates were very low. That's the official reason anyway. So it cost $80,000 a year per student, and graduation rates reportedly were under 39%. So those stats were unacceptable, and that was the reason. But a lot of people think it's for something more, starting with the culture war and perception of the undeserving youth, privatization and anti-government spending ideology, and fewer voters notice or fight for it. Job Corps, at its essence, represents a social safety net. And simply by saying that word, social safety net, it already angered over half of the Republican base. Now, Trump wasn't alone in trying to get rid of it. Ronald Reagan also tried to get rid of it. He wasn't able to. But they spend over $1 billion a year, so it fits into the narrative of draining the swamp. Job Corps was created by Congress in the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. The only way to fully eliminate it, you guessed it, you go through Congress. Something that the president doesn't like to do all the time. So not only do you have to go through the House, but it looks like you'll probably need to get a supermajority in the Senate, meaning 60 votes. And that's not happening anytime soon. You would have to get Democrats on board to get rid of this completely. Instead, the president can do phased pauses, refuse to renew contracts, rewrite performance metrics, and slow starvation by regulation. This program typically serves 50,000 kids every year. The kids, they usually live on the center. So not only are you disrupting their training, you're disrupting where they live and also their medical care. So what do you do in this type of situation? Well, you still have some alternatives. To be clear, they haven't shut it down yet. They want to shut it down. But if any of these centers do in fact get shut down, you have an alternative like Youth Build. Youth Build isn't being targeted probably because Youth Build operates on a smaller scale. So Youth Build's budget is less than 10% of Job Corps. So outside of that, you also have your community colleges. You have trade schools. There's a National Guard youth program. So in addition to all of that, we have wild conspiracies about one of our federal agencies. That's FEMA. Nobody likes FEMA at this particular point in time. Maybe some people on the left like them, but generally speaking, no. Especially not people that lean towards the right with their political ideology. There are some theories that concentration camps are being developed and set up around the country using FEMA. This is one of the reasons why everyone's so eager to try to shut it down, even though we have natural disasters hitting by the dozens every single year. If you want to know more information about FEMA, why the president hates it so much, why the right hates it so much, I want you to watch this video up here. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.